Mega, mega, mega. Yeah, we know that song. But have you ever heard of the man behind it? Mega is the brainchild of Kim.com, the man who destroyed Hollywood. Well, maybe not destroyed exactly, but certainly gave the industry a run for its money. A legendary hacker, a mysterious tech genius, a convicted felon, an enigmatic billionaire, a shadowy figure with more aliases than you can shake a stick at. Some people call him a scammer, others call him a visionary. Some call him a criminal mastermind, others call him a folk hero, fighting for our right to do whatever we want on the internet. So who is he, and how did he make Hollywood hate him so much? Well, it all starts with a man named Kim. Kim. Well, actually, let's start with a man named Kim. Alright, so this Kim was born in Seoul, South Korea in 1976, before moving to Canada with his family 3 years later. And as a teenager, he took up the nickname that would make him famous or infamous, depending on who you ask, Kim.com. This new identity helped him create an online persona that was somewhat of a Korean cyber terrorist, a hacker willing to take on the government and large corporations. And he actually had some reason to feel that way. In 1998, Kim was arrested after being charged with credit card fraud, money laundering and selling stolen credit card numbers. Although he maintained his innocence, he was found guilty of the charges and sentenced to 4 months in jail. However, once out, instead of going straight, Kim decided to double down on his new persona and tell everyone that he didn't just commit those crimes. He claimed to have hacked into Citibank and stolen 800 grand. Of course, no one believed him then, but over time he proved himself to be quite the hacker. In 2000, he was arrested again after illegally accessing the computer system of the Korean broadcasting system and leaking sensitive information. But this wasn't anything compared to what came next. Just 2 years later, in 2002, he claimed that he managed to hack into the Pentagon and steal 240 gigabytes of data. He also claimed to have infiltrated NASA's unclassified network and stolen thousands of files, although none of these were ever verified by the authorities. At least some of them are real, because in 2005, Kim.com posted 350 megabytes of confidential files online, including documents about classified US weapons, ammunition, and body armor being exported to South Korea. That same year, he went on to hack into South Korean President Roh Moo-hyun's website and change its homepage to read, "Great Leader Kim Jong-il," referring to the supreme leader of North Korea. But despite all these supposed crimes, Kim was never brought to justice, and as far as anyone knows, he hasn't been arrested since. And that brings us to the first person who could possibly have been Kim. His first alias was given to him by his mother when she caught him hacking into her AOL account. She was pissed because she thought he was trying to steal her password. But when she realized he just wanted to see what she was doing, she said, "You little Kim.org," basically calling him a cyber terrorist. It stuck, and soon after he changed it to Kim.com, the name he is known by today. But before we get back to him, we have a question for you. Did you know there are millions of weird laws still on the books in the United States? Like, did you know it's illegal to transport a baby alligator across state lines? Or that it's illegal to sell smiley face drugs? If you want to learn about all the stupid laws that haven't been repealed yet, we highly recommend checking out the series Weird Laws, available on a specific platform. Now, let's get back to Kim.com. By now, Kim was making a living by hosting other people's malware and phishing sites on his own servers, something that was very lucrative in the mid to late 2000s. But he was always looking for ways to make more money. And in 2007, he came up with a brilliant idea, at least in his mind. He was going to launch the largest, fastest, and most comprehensive file-sharing website the world had ever seen. It was called Upload. It started out as a glorified YouTube, where people could upload and download videos. But soon it was clear there was a lot more interest in uploading and downloading files other than videos. And while there were plenty of places on the internet to do that kind of thing, they were often slow and unreliable. Upload changed all that. Not only were uploads and downloads fast, but the site was almost never taken down, even with all the illegal activity taking place on it. That's because Kim set up hundreds of servers around the world to prevent authorities from shutting the site down. It was also because the actual source code for the site was hosted on a USB drive hidden in a Faraday bag somewhere in New Zealand, meaning it was completely unavailable to hackers and law enforcement alike. and he carefully designed the site so that nothing was stored in one place, making it extremely difficult to bring down. To top it all off, Kim.com also wrote a custom client that allowed users to connect directly to each other's computers, meaning the server itself didn't have to store or manage the files being shared. This meant virtually no threat of legal action, as long as you kept the FBI out of your house. And as you might expect, the site exploded in popularity. Within a few months, it was one of the top 200 websites in the world, right between Wikipedia and Amazon. Of course, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. There was a dark side to Megapload, a dark side that made Hollywood hate Kim.com more than anything. It was piracy. People used Megapload to share and download copyrighted material without paying for it, costing the entertainment industry billions of dollars. As such, they tried everything they could to shut down the service, including lobbying governments to arrest Kim.com, but he was always one step ahead of them, incorporating feedback from previous attacks to make the site even more secure and anonymous. And here's the thing, while he did make it extremely hard to take down the site, it wasn't impossible. In fact, in January of 2012, the FBI finally got a court order to seize the domain name megaupload.com, and when they did, they also arrested several of Kim.com's "as closest associates." But Kim himself was nowhere to be seen. He had anticipated the attack and prepared accordingly. He'd already registered thousands of domain names containing slight variations of megaupload.com, any of which could easily replace the original site. And while law enforcement eventually took down most of these sites, they couldn't keep up. They simply weren't as smart as Kim.com. That's why to this day, there is no official record of who exactly Kim.com is, or even where he is. He's done a good job of hiding himself from the public eye, although we do have a few theories on both his real identity and his current whereabouts. Some believe he is currently living in New Zealand under a false identity. After all, that's where he registered the original megaupload.com domain. Others think he may have been arrested but somehow erased from public records. But really, nobody knows. But whether he's alive or dead, people still try to contact him. Every year, tens of thousands of emails are sent to the address on his old LinkedIn profile, hoping to hire Kim.com for their own hacking needs. Some are serious offers, but most are from bored teenagers asking him to hack into their school's Wi-Fi network. But unfortunately, they never get an answer because even though Kim.com has disappeared, his legacy lives on. He single-handedly made Hollywood fear the power of the internet, proving that no matter how big and powerful you are, you should never ever mess with nerds. So who was Kim.com? Was he a genius hacker who stole billions from the greedy elite, or a scammer who sold people on false promises? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. There are multiple people who claim to be Kim.com, and multiple people who say they used to work with him, but in the end, we may never know who, if anyone, is telling the truth. Now, go watch the USV Reality Winner, Biggest Government Overreach, or Hero Whistleblowing, or click this other video instead. But don't click it unless you're ready to have your mind blown.